I'm 29024 Dong Meitong from E&F department, and herewith, I'm super glad that you're watching this video. Also, in my last semester in this college, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to you for the past 4 years teaching and guidance for me, and I wish you all the best in the future. Okay, so why not we start begin? My research topic is the solution of cooperation ethic dilemma based on utilitarianism and care ethics. Here is the detail. I gotta begin with why corporations need ethics standards. Then I will illustrate from 2 angles and discuss each advantage and drawback. Then showcase my idea with this topic, and finally end up with some real examples to prove my views. So let's move on. Okay, picture this. Your best friend has gotten an ugly haircut. Should you tell him? If you tell him, he will be hurt, but you won't tell him. The result is he will suffer from ridicules in the next 2 weeks at his site. This is a typical ethic dilemma, and in the life of an individual, and one that exists for business as well. I'm a straight shooter, so I will tell my friends the truth. But the corporations are often caught in a conflict of interest over, well, the transparent or money grabbing for the sake of profit. So why do companies need an ethic standard? I think the core factor is the ethic dilemma. Here I list the 3 cases of ethical dilemmas in business, but I focus on explain one of them. In March this year, the fake starch sausage incident discovered in the 315 Customer Protection Gala is a typical example of corporation conflict between intricate and profitability. They use fake mashed chicken bone to pass off as a chicken meat to reduce and cost the cost. So this has seriously jeopardized the health of customers, and there are many other keys like this. For example, the conflict between profits and fairness, the conflict of social responsibility and cost. So the companies need an ethical standards to make the most appropriate decisions when they operating their business. So how do we resolve the ethical dilemmas, and by what standard do companies execute business decisions? I will analyze this in terms of ethics. So first, let's come with the solution 1, utilitarianism. At the end of the 18th century, British philosopher and economics Bentham and Mill proposed the utilitarianism, and the basic theory of it is an action is right if it can contribute to the promotion of happiness, and wrong if it leads to the protection of something opposite to the happiness. This is a form of consequentialism, which is now most commonly understood to mean that the actions that can zoom out the utility for the greatest number of people are moral. Thus, entrepreneurs use the utilitarianism to formulate their own purpose, which is to maximize welfare and bring happiness to the relative stakeholders through their business practice. In this framework, corporate profitability and corporate social responsibility are all subordinate to the utilitarian intrinsic value and instrumental value. So simply put, the ultimate purpose of a company's operation is to maximize utility, and all corporate behaviors or decisions that make this happen are ethical means, ethical tools, or we say the instruments. Therefore, the entrepreneurs who support utilitarianism make decisions in this way, and I summarize them into 4 steps. First, identifying the extent of the effect of an act. For example, if I discharging the sewage into the river, I would to focus the impact of it first. And second is the clarifying the relative stakeholders, such as whether only an individual benefits or whether the whole companies make a profit, or even maybe just a certain stuff. The third part is to use economic models to calculate whether the utility can be maximized. Then, one of them called hedonic calculus, asserted by the Bentham, is to calculate the weight of human happiness and misery. And finally, based on the result of the calculation, the best behavior is chosen. So in other words, the motivation is based on the results. Well, in my opinion, this theory has 2 advantages. First is the subject to the final target, and second is the interoperability. So let's explain the first one. The objective of the happiness of the greatest number of people without pure residues is moral and feasible if an action can achieve it. And second is the feature of its interchangeability, which means the effect of different action or decisions can be generalized. So let's say that if the utility of the corporate responsibility A equal to the utility of corporation profitability B, then when the corporation responsibility A conflict with its profitability, then the corporate responsibility B will be operate as a more ethical and alternative to the corporate responsibility A. For example, if I will earn $10 if I train my employers, as well as earning $10 if I use more cheaper materials for saving money, then I will choose to train my employer first, well, instead of the others, because I think, well, maybe I can earn both $10 in the end. So why not I choose a more moral and kindness way? For example, training my employers, even though maybe during this process I will cost more time or effort to teaching excellent employers, but I would like to choose the way, for example, use poor or cheap materials to scam my consumers. While the utilitarianism is valid, it's not actually perfect. Here are the critical voices that I found when I reading the literatures. And I calculate that the utilitarianism seeks to maximize utility, but it cannot take care for everyone. And there are always a few group of people that can be abandoned. And its fairness means equality of all who have vested interest, not equality in the totality of the circumstance. And it doesn't get around the computational errors, such as the subjectivity of happiness and misery. Therefore, on the right, I also to list my own questions, such as does the inability to maximize the utility equal to the aesthetic behaviors? Well, in this respect, I would like to add another ethical theory to help the defect of utilitarianism, and I find it is as the ethic of care. It's proposed by the Gail Galligan. It is the idea that caring for well-being of others is a moral behavior, especially standing for the rights of minorities, from the female perspective to the weakened group. Well, in this table, I have compared the 4 differences between the utilitarianism and care ethic. So I believe that the caring ethic is able to make up for the shortcoming of utilitarianism. Well, I also summarized some advantages of combining 2 different theories together to figure out the ethic dilemma in companies. And the first is the care ethic addresses the neglect of the minorities. For example, if a technique company is laying off employers, maybe because of overage or because of is a pregnant female, I think the boss should consider their feelings and make accomplishment first, and or maybe find a next job position instead of only for the profits. The second is the ethic can explain what justice is. Rather than the utilitarianism, seeking only to maximize the profits, justice is about making things profitable for the most disadvantaged group. So if the weakened group, the most poor group can also gain profits, I think it's a moral and conscious society. And the care ethic seek the fairness. It's fairness for all, not for the majority. The last, I think, is the care ethic can build relationships. It's help companies to build the alliance and win-win partnership rather than manipulate interests. So after we're talking about lots of theories, is there some real business that to do the moral behaviors or warm heart members in our life? So I found some outstanding CSR entrepreneurs in last years to prove my view. Okay, it include 3 banners, and which is Alibaba, IKEA, and BMW. So let's effort with Alibaba first. It's focused on the rural revitalization with its disregard for profits, meaning that the ethical corporate behaviors doesn't necessarily have to refer to maximize the utility in the short term, but can also be beneficial in the long term. For example, today's goodwill in tomorrow's return. Therefore, what I want to summarize here is that the entrepreneurs can refer to both utilitarianism and care ethics theories to make decisions when facing the ethic dilemma. And conscious enterprises should pursuing long-term benefits and a sustainable development path, rather than only consider the maximizing utility or happiness of a certain group. Here is the reference I've mentioned in this PowerPoint, and also the literature that I have used. And thank you for your watching.